I'm Kate,
I'm Elle.
and we are Down to Fae. We're continuing our Throne of Glass deep dive with part 2 of The Assassin in the Desert. So if you're listening to this one and you haven't listened to part 1, go listen to part 1. We did it. It got a little long, so I split it into 2 parts, but it released them on the same day. And we have another book rec. So we had last week you did Heartless Hunter, and then this week's same week's book rec is from a listener, Kelsey, on Instagram, who sent in the Starfall Point series by Molly Harper. Book 1 is Witches Get Stuff Done.
I love this. It's perfect for this time of year. Also, I'm wearing my Hocus Pocus shirt, and I have these earrings that you guys
Your
probably
little
can't
pumpkin
see.
earrings. Yeah, if you are wondering what we're talking about, we also do YouTube and post some videos on Instagram, but Ella's always very in theme with the way she's dressed.
I'm overly cutesy. I love the little effects.
And this is Starfall Point series by Molly Harper. From the moment that Riley Everett set foot in Starfall Point, magic bubbled inside of her. But with only her late aunt's journals and a cantankerous live-in ghost butler to instruct her on all things witchy.
I love that.
I know, including her. It sounds very like cozy, but she has this newly inherited Victorian haunted house.
Love.
I would love to inherit a big Victorian haunted house. Riley seeks out a coven for sisterhood and support, so found family. The last person she expects to be drawn to is the town's frustrating yet ridiculously attractive head librarian.
Ridiculously attractive. I am listening. Edison Held knows almost everything there is to know about Starfall Point, but Shadow House was always off limits thanks to its elusive owner. If he can convince the new owner, Riley, to let him take a peek inside, there's so much he could learn. But as he gets closer to Riley, he's fascinated by her dazzling wit and fiery spirit. Sounds like she's not like other girls.
No.
Edison will do whatever he can to help Riley keep her family legacy alive, especially if it means spending more time with the captivating new witch in town.
And when Kelsey sent this in, she said that it's like a fluffy, cute series with found family and Charmed vibes. I used to love Charmed. I still watch it sometimes when reruns come on. And each witch gets their own book, and we love an ensemble. So there's currently 3 out. She gives it 1 chili pepper on the spice scale, but she does give it overall a solid 4.5 out of 5 stars. And like you said, it sounds perfect for this time of year, like cozy, witches. They don't always have to be fucking. We love it when they do.
Always down for a spice, but it's so nice to just vibe.
And yeah, and like a cute little palate cleanser.
Love
Between like reverse harems, every once in a while you need to like pull yourself out of the reverse harems and remember there's a whole world.
Just need something for a minute. Our DMs are always open for book recs on Instagram and TikTok at DTFae Podcast.
And we are picking up with Ansel and Selena in Xandria, where it's market day. So there are vendors from all over the continent and beyond selling food and clothes and probably those giant headbands that you like. You would spend all of your money on like little earrings.
My overly cutesy, unnecessary, I love those big ass headbands.
Vendors love to see you coming. Ansel weaves through the crowd, getting noticed, and Selena has a little pity party that she's not getting noticed. She doesn't have, when she walks around Rifthold, not only does she have a line of credit, but people are like, is that Adarlan's assassin? And here everyone's looking at Ansel, probably because they're like, is she in full armor?
I mean, that or if nothing else, because like Selena is beautiful. And I think that's so like, I guess she's 17 right now, but that's so typical teenager where you're like, are they looking at me? How do I look? What are they thinking? Like,
but then they're looking at Ansel because she has like the wine red hair.
Yeah, you can't. It's like it's just a different look. You can't compete with it. But she's like, but me, hello.
But they are a little competitive, Ansel and Selena.
Yeah, I guess that's just teenage girls at some point. Ansel tells Selena she's going to meet with Beric in his palace alone.
Another red flag. I mean, not that Selena would be in on silent assassin business.
I didn't like pick up on this as being a red flag when I first read it because like Selena's an outsider and like Ansel's been there for 5 years. The Mute Master gave her something to give. Like she and Beric already have a rapport. Like I didn't necessarily think anything of it, but now of course looking back, I'm like, that's suspicious. Selena wonders what could be so important and secret that the Master or maybe just Ansel wouldn't want her to hear it though.
Selena wanders through the vendors and wishes she had more money or that line of credit that she does in Rifthold, which does sound nice.
Yeah, sure.
Especially when she sees some shoes that she likes and white-haired maidens, priestesses of Lani, the goddess of dreams, selling perfume. And that goddess, of dreams is not mentioned much or at all moving forward. I guess more lumped in with what we find out later about the gods and like what happens to the gods. I do think it's weird that Selena says it's these women claiming to be priestesses of the goddess.
Maybe,
Not that they're priestesses, but that they're it's kind of weird, right?
yeah. I guess the fact that she felt the need to include the word claiming,
Well, and it's
like, why couldn't they just be priestesses of the goddess? Like,
right. And the perfume that they're selling, I should have written this down. I'm pretty sure it's jasmine. And that is something that she smells when she's later on being kept somewhere
was it
in like a
jasmine or was it
dreamlike oh,
lavender?
lavender, that's it.
Okay.
In like the dreamlike state. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? Am I making
Yes.
any sense?
No, you are.
Ever?
Yes, the lavender comes up again.
Okay.
But the way she talks about how pretty it smells, like, I'm such a sucker for perfume. Like, of all my many vices and silly things I waste money on, the fact that
It's
she
not a waste. It's not wasteful if you enjoy it.
that is so true because it gives you a moment, like, you
Mhm.
have that olfactory memory.
Well, I'm
It's so
more of like
nice.
a vanilla warm
Mhm.
scent, and you have a lot of like flowery.
Yeah, it did yeah, side note, like
Or if you're wondering our signature scents, mine is like dry shampoo actually, but
I tend to like more of, like, the, almost like unisex, like, not musky, but, like, just a cool, clean
mhm,
scent, and lavender just always feels so fresh.
mhm.
Selena's going back and forth about whether she should buy the shoes when something glistening in the shadows beneath an archway catches her eye.
Spider silk, and we are going to talk about ACOTAR a little, so skip ahead a minute or two if you haven't read.
The horse-sized Stygian spiders lurk in the woods of the Rune Mountains, spinning their thread and trading it for, some say, human flesh. Others say they take years and dreams as payment.
Just imagine getting a Venmo request for your dreams.
I mean,
Obviously,
like, I guess you can have it. I don't care.
whatever. And I also would be, he talks about how he doesn't know where the years are coming off. I also would be like, whatever, you can have a couple years. What am I doing with them?
Yeah, but you can't have them right now.
Not right now.
That's not where I'm
Obviously,
okay
there were
with.
a lot of trigger words in that. Obviously, rune being one of our big trigger words, two N's here. But also Stygian, what did you say?
Stygian.
But also Stygian reminds me of Striga, the weaver in ACOTAR. And what are spiders but weavers? She also feeds on life force, becoming younger from it, almost like she's stealing years.
Wow. And we'll learn about the three-faced goddess and her loom later.
The bone carver also says his sister had a collection of mirrors in her black castle. Could he be talking about Morath or something made of wordstone? And one of her mirrors was the Ouroboros, which we fully believe is a witch mirror. Something we'll see later on in this series. We don't know a lot about witch mirrors yet, but we also talked about the potential archway in the desert being a witch mirror or a word gate.
His sister also bled black blood.
Like another character we will talk about in the series, a character connected to spiders. And there's also Vesperus, who had dark blood and who was compared to a spider. It's all very triggering. I don't know if it's all actually connected or if it's more Easter eggs or hints or connections, but it is fun.
There's just too much that overlaps with that little bit of information, you know, and you're like, there's so many things that this could be or be related to, especially if they can like actually travel through these mirrors, like
Mhm.
so many possibilities, or the word stone. The spider silk itself is gorgeous. It's delicate as gossamer, lovelier than silk, and it's stronger than steel.
And not to tie everything back to Lord of the Rings,
Mithril,
but Mithril, that's what it sounds like exactly. I'm so glad we're on the same page.
same page.
Selena has never seen so much spider silk before. It's like walking into a thrift store and seeing two Birkins. This is unheard of, but also everyone's just walking around,
People
not
do
realizing
yeah, I
what
was
it
they really
is.
do not well, because I guess they don't have enough money to have ever come in contact with it? I don't know.
I never, by the way, speaking of like Goodwill and thrift stores, I never find anything. Like people will post about this amazing stuff they found in thrift stores. I don't find anything.
We are not thrifting in the same areas,
No.
clearly. We need to go to, like, New
I
York
guess
or something.
Yeah, I guess it's rich areas that would
Because
have
Carrie
good stuff.
Bradshaw on Sex and the City always found, like, Chanel or, like
When I rewatch Sex and the City, Carrie is a terrible friend.
she's a terrible person,
She's
but
a terrible person.
sorry to just shit on everybody. Like, I love watching Sex and the City, but she's so, like,
Insufferable. Like,
selfish and judgy.
the show didn't age well. It's still
No.
nostalgic,
Yeah.
but it did not age well. And speaking of, if you're looking for, I know we do book recommendations, But I have been watching, Nobody Wants This on Netflix, and it is so cute.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, wait, have you not started it? For some
Uh-uh.
reason, I thought you had. So when you finish Tell Me Lies, which everyone has to watch, everybody.
I did actually turn on Tell Me Lies to watch some of the sex scenes.
Did you? Oh, are you just looking at the sex scenes? Tom Ellis sex scenes?
Why
Have
are you mad at me? Yes, I love Tom Ellis.
Okay,
Me and Lucifer, I used to love that show.
Oh, I loved Lucifer. The last episode of Tell Me Lies, because it's releasing weekly, it's episode 7, I believe, has
Okay.
a great Tom Ellis sex scene of like
Yes.
they're in his wife's house, like his wife's house, and him and the student are hooking up in the laundry room.
His wife's house, not his house?
No, it is his house. I don't know why I
okay.
said it like
Okay,
that.
I was
didn't
like,
know how
what
to
is
explain it,
happening on this show?
but it is very, very sexy.
He is sexy. God.
And
okay.
he's married to the creator of that show.
Oh, really?
And when she was casting for that, we are so far aside, but when she was casting for that role, she was like, you know who would be good in this? You. And he was like, won't everybody hate me? Because it's like a gross professor. And she's like, that'll be fine.
I did have a moment though where I'm like, okay, I find Tom Ellis delicious, but he's not that much older than me. This girl is like 19.
Yeah.
Like even
Well,
if the actress in real life is like 22, like, is that weird?
I have a theory that the wife knows about it and they play this little game with students. I don't know if that's true or not.
Gross.
I say theory. That's
very
not
like House of Cards.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of like games between the
Man,
spouses.
I haven't watched that show. Okay.
Sorry, we're going on a full tangent.
Let's get back. Let's go back to the desert.
So back to the spider silk. The seller, a seemingly middle-aged man, tells Selena that she's the first one to recognize it for what it is.
And Selena recognized it because she knows a courtesan in Rifthold whose madam has a handkerchief of spider silk.
Wow.
And I asked this before we started recording, but you've put together who this merchant is.
Oh, yes.
And why this courtesan Easter egg is important.
Now, anybody else that has not read the full series, you won't know this character yet, and that's okay.
Okay.
He is somebody that you will learn about again, or he'll come up again much, much later down the road.
But also her talking about, well, I know a courtesan who's madam, like that particular courtesan, her having that thought in relation to this guy is
so many small connections.
Right.
You guys just have to hold on to this for a few more books until it comes up again, but it is important.
It is a few more books, but yeah.
To answer her earlier question about why he's in town where no one recognizes spider silk, the merchant tells Selena that his ship to the southern continent doesn't leave for 2 days, so why not?
Selena tells this middle-aged man that she turned 17 2 weeks ago, and he says, not much younger than me, because he may look 40, but he's only 25. He traded 20 years for 100 yards of spider silk. He assumed, this is why you have to ask questions, girls, when you make deals. He assumed that they meant they would take it off the end of his life. But he also, if they had warned him, he would have said yes anyway. Like, it sucks, but he's also like, whatever, I still would have done it.
I mean, that's wild. It's literally a fortune if you can find somebody to buy it. So at some point, he will be extremely wealthy.
But it is an he made an investment assuming that he would be able to find those people to buy it. But also that he has hired guards.
I'll say also assuming nobody kills you to get it from you.
And steals it, right.
Jeez. When asked if there's anything that can be done about the years he lost, he tells Selena that he followed the western side of the mountains on his way here and met an old witch along the way. When he asked if she could fix him, she was like, you break it, you bought it. Anyway, I was like, they don't have any magic right now, but like, okay. Only the death of the spider who consumed your 20 years can return them to you.
The witch told him that a great warrior could slay a spider, the greatest warrior in the land, though perhaps an assassin from the north might do. When she asked how he knows anything about her, he says a city guard told him that strange dealings go on between Barrick and some of the silent assassins, probably the ones with red hair.
The merchant then just casually asks Selena to kill the spider he made a deal with.
He literally, I don't feel sorry for this character. He literally sought out the spiders to make a deal and then immediately tried to look for a way to get out of the deal.
Yeah.
Like, you did this. They didn't. It's not like the spiders attacked him and took the years. He made a deal.
Yeah. Well, he also says that if he had known how this would play out, he'd do it again. So like, again, yeah, no thanks. You're going to have to pay me an extreme fortune. Even then, like, I don't know. She tells him that the next time he's in Rifthold, seek out Erbin Hamel and he'll know where to find her.
But in the meantime, he gives her a down payment of a square of spider silk, no larger than 6 square inches, but it's enough to buy like 10 horses. And you haven't read beyond this, have you? So you don't know what she uses that square for.
No, I have not read beyond this because I was
Okay.
thinking later in the series, I was like, I don't remember this coming up again.
Yeah.
Okay. But it is a reminder that everything has a price, he says.
Ansel is late to their meeting spot and grabs Selena by the arm and starts dragging her through the streets. When Selena asks what the fuck, Ansel says none of your business and keeps dragging her inside Barrack's palace walls.
So, side note, as we're reading this, like, I'm pissed off on Selena's behalf because Ansel's just like manhandling her, but also down the road, this is exactly how Selena or Aelin handles everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she doesn't really give people answers, she just
That's
does
true.
things. So I was like, fine, see where this goes.
Yeah.
But they are on their way to the Asterian horses in the stables.
And remember when Dorian gifted one of those fancy ass horses to Chaol and Selena said she had an Asterian horse. So now we're getting that backstory. And speaking of Rune Mountains and Striga, the Weaver, and Briarcliff, Asterian horses sounds a lot like Asteri. And it makes you wonder if they took certain words over to Midgard and Prithian, the way that we have words that derive from Latin, say
Yeah.
that they come over and they are ingrained in the culture, I guess, and they're used in different ways and they change over time.
Yeah. Very, very possible.
But yeah, the Asteri, were they like, we really like those horses. Should we
They're
be
very
the Asteri?
impressive. We could be named after them. The Asterian horses are the most ancient breed of horses in Aurelia. Legend claims the Fae made them from the four winds: spirit from the north, strength from the south, speed from the east, and wisdom from the west.
Not to bring everything back to Lord of the Rings,
Of course.
but there is a breed of wild horses in the north of Middle Earth, and they were known for their intelligence, speed, and strength. And we saw one of them, Shadowfax, in the movie Lord of the Rings.
Yep. The horses are named, I think it's Hisley.
We really should have looked this up. I knew there was something we needed to look up how to say, and we did not.
Well, we're going to go with it. I think it's Hisley and
Hisley.
Cassida, which means drinker of the wind in
Cassida?
desert.
No, that's stupid.
It could be Cassida.
We'll say it different ways, and one of us will be right, one of us will be wrong. But at
Look,
least one of us will be right.
interpret everything the wrong way. So it's probably Cassida. But Cassida means drinker of the wind in desert dialect. Ansel says Lord Barrack got them today and plans to test them in half an hour. By the way, are you a strong rider?
And with that, Ansel hops on top of one of the horses, and Selena is like, what the fuck? But without much of an option. And because it is kind of fun, she says it like she's pissed, and she does punch her later on. But she's also, this is kind of fun.
Like, let's do it.
So she jumps on Cassida and rides after her. 3 mounted guards charge through the city gates after them, and Ansel's just LOLing, and she's yelling back, live a little, Sardathian! And Selena's pissed, but like I said, she can't help but enjoy it a little bit. I mean, she is racing through the Red Desert on an Asterian horse.
Ansel takes a shortcut that turns out to be the Desert Cleaver, a giant wall split down the center of an enormous fissure. And again, Selena doesn't have much of a choice. It's either face the 3 guards who are now firing arrows at them or jump 30 feet to the other side of the ravine.
They make it to the other side, and when Ansel asks, wasn't that wonderful? Selena just punches her in the face.
Get her. Though they could make it back before midnight, Ansel insists on stopping for the night.
If they're actually on the run, that's another.
I know. I'm like,
clue.
even if they have to go around, it feels like you guys should make more of an effort to get back faster.
But Ansel clearly wasn't actually that concerned.
But
about
also,
getting caught.
The horses are could probably use a little bit of a break. As they lay gazing at the stars, Ansel says she never learned the constellations, though she thinks there's, the meaning for the people of the Western Wastes are different from Selena's.
Selena points out the dragon, the swan, and the stag, the Lord of the North. And it is kind of funny. Ansel's like, well, why does he get a name? Why is he so special?
Yeah.
And it's the stag stays constant. It's always there to guide the people of Terrasen home. And she, throughout the entire series, Selena seeks out the stag in the sky.
Well, and that's what's so interesting. Like, she very much gives away where she's from by saying the stag stays constant and guides people home to Terrasen. And I'm like, what about anywhere else? Okay. Ansel puts together that Selena's from Terrasen. She kind of, I guess, gave it away from the way that she talks about it, like the way that Ansel's father used to talk about their land.
Used to, because Ansel's father never sent her to train. There is no Briarcliff, at least not anymore. When Ansel was 12, Lord Locke was Christopher Columbusing his way around the Western Waste and demanded that Ansel's father bend the knee Stark style.
There's already a piece of shit conquering the East. We're not going to do this in the West.
Yeah, he says no and it backfires.
Well, 2 weeks later, Lord Locke marched into their lands, seized their villages, and when he got to Briarcliff Hall, he slit Ansel's sister's throat, then Ansel's father, while Ansel was hiding in the cupboard.
And she couldn't, I mean, there's nothing she could do. She had to wait until it was over, but she also had to watch all of this.
I mean, it's awful. She's 12. I'm sure she has so much guilt, like that she didn't do anything, but what else could she have done?
So Ansel runs, and she runs until she can't anymore, and she stops at the foothills of the White Fang Mountains, where an Iron Teeth witch tells her to go to the Silent Assassins, and there she could find her fate. The witch also fed her, bound her bleeding feet, and gave her gold.
So it sounds like this witch has a bit of the sight, and it's not very Iron Teeth like behavior.
Well, do we think, like several of the characters in Assassin's Blade, this is an Iron Teeth witch that we know, that we eventually meet? I have some suspicions just based on vibes. I won't use names, even if it's not really a spoiler, but it's giving the second in the 13, an Iron Teeth witch with a tender and nurturing side. The only Iron Teeth witch I can think of with the power of sight, though, is Baba, but this does not sound like that carny bitch.
Well, also, we haven't met the blue blood Iron Teeth yet, but don't the blue bloods also, don't they have more visions?
Power of sight, yeah.
So like it could be
have
one of the
been-
13 that we meet later, or it could be one of the blue bloods. Either way, it's
Totally.
not the way that they're usually Iron Teeth are described. It's not their typical behavior.
They're more likely to, like, you're just bones that are left.
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, the one that ate that little girl, that sounds more like Baba Yellow
Yeah.
Legs.
Yeah, just I don't know why I'm always, I mean, there's how many witches are there? I'm just always like,
There's
ooh,
probably
who's this?
thousands, but we don't care. Better to know them.
But regardless, Ansel followed her advice and has been training with the Silent Assassins ever since.
And one day she'll return to Briarcliff and take back what's hers using her father's sword. The story is triggering for Selena, who Ansel has a lot more in common with than she realized.
And I can't tell if I'm starved for spice, but things get a little intimate here. Like, did you catch a vibe more on Ansel's side than
Yes.
Selena? Do you think she had a little bit of a crush?
I was gonna say, there's like the way Ansel was reaching out, there was a connection that she seemed to be making more than I think Selena was catching on to.
Right.
They return to the fortress to find Mikhail and 3 other assassins waiting, word of their little escapades having already reached the master.
While Selena is waiting for her punishment, she suddenly remembers what Sam had been yelling while Erebin beat her. I'll kill you. And he'd meant it, yelled it over and over again at Erebin.
What an interesting time for that to suddenly occur to her, what he was saying.
It has to have been she mentally was back in that I'm about to be punished.
Yeah. And so is
That
she
like
like,
clarity of, I don't know.
yeah, it had to be the clarity at the moment then.
Mhm.
Ansel immediately goes into damage control and Selena flinches.
Which is just so sad that she immediately is like, I'm about to get the shit beat out of me.
I mean, like, everything they do here is different than what Erebin did, but that's just what she's used to.
Mhm.
But the Mute Master doesn't hit her. He just gives her a sad smile.
Selena knows how important it is to Ansel to be here training, so she blurts out that the whole thing was her idea and she takes full responsibility.
And Ansel lets her.
Their punishment is stable duty until Selena leaves, which honestly, I would take that over running in the desert because they can't run when they're doing that.
I don't know. That's a lot of poop. I don't
That's true.
know.
And it is hot. As they turn to leave, the master grabs Selena's arm and Ansel translates, probably a little begrudgingly, that she is to report to him at sunset tomorrow for their first lesson.
That's what Ansel doesn't seem to get about the master. He's clearly looking for some character, some honesty, some depth, and Selena just showed him who she really is.
And it goes both ways. Selena bows to the master, and it's not because she's supposed to, like probably like she does with Erebin, but because she feels he deserves it. And it makes you like, I wish that when she had been running, she had somehow been found by this murder daddy instead of her murder daddy. Like how different things could have been. I mean, I know
Yeah.
that it shaped her and a lot of it needed to happen. She needed those skills.
Yeah, but how differently could things have turned out for her?
Right.
Selena meets the master standing by the parapet on the roof.
And luckily, there's no Jack Barlow.
The only thing on the roof is a covered reed basket.
A hissing covered reed basket. It's full of wasps.
Shut up.
Because we thought the asps were wasps.
You don't have to be nice. It wasn't we. It was Elle.
I did too. I had to look it up.
I mean, it's probably just because the word is so similar. That was my...
Sarah, say snakes.
I don't know. That was just my first thought. What a dumbass. Inside is a black asp, not to kill, but to observe, specifically the way it moves. And I'm like, I'm a genie in a bottle. Like, what are we doing?
And it is wackadoodle time every night this week until she can move like it moves, until she can strike like a snake. And she spends 3 days after that dangling from the rafters of the fortress stables with the bats, then with the jackrabbits on the dunes to learn how to be still.
I mean, that's when she's not doing shit like running sideways like a crab.
Sorry.
I mean, like, it's one thing if you're teaching me like mobility and like being able to change direction, but like some of
she's just moving side to side. Everyone's like, is she okay?
It's just getting like weird and cheesy, but it's increasingly cheery for Ansel at meals.
Yeah. For her to not be getting any sort of...
You would think Ansel would be really bitter because she's been waiting for this training, but she's like getting more and more happy, which is weird.
And there's also been no more attacks from Lord Barrick. Ansel says that whatever the master's letter they took to Xandria said must have worked. I wonder if there was anything even in that letter.
I wonder if she even gave it to him.
I don't know. That's a good point, because I wondered with what she pulls later with the empty, like, I just can't tell how much the master was testing her.
Or did the master, considering she clearly stole his signet at some point, did the master even...
Well,
I don't know.
Mikhail gave it to her.
Yeah, I just had that thought. I'm like, somebody gave it to Mikhail, so JK.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, the master wrote something.
Yeah.
When she's not training or side-eyeing Ansel, Selena's thinking about Sam and him threatening Arobynn for her.
When it's time for the Midsummer Eve festival, Selena and Ansel get ready together, which is such a great part of girlhood that Selena has never really gotten to experience, because they're laughing, they're putting on makeup, and it makes me sad knowing the extent of female friendships is Ansel and later Nehemia. Like, it just, she's starved for a female friend.
I guess I didn't think enough about what her day-to-day would be like growing up. And until she pointed it out, I didn't know that there were no female assassins in the Assassin's Keep. So like, she's starved for any sort of mother figure or like feminine influence.
Right. And I think that's probably why it's so easy for Nehemia to take advantage of her, because it's like she goes into female friendships way more trusting. She should.
I know we're mad at Nehemia.
We are mad,
but also
Nehemia.
Like, I think Nehemia also needed that bonding with her. So I don't know if it was that.
No, you're right.
It's okay. We all have our feelings.
I still hate Elena though.
Okay, we can.
Elena, they could never make me like you.
Well, that's the thing is like, I don't love Nehemia. I'm very upset with her too. But like, I understand that Selena kind of forced her hand by not being willing to move forward either.
Well, and female friendships are important in all of Sarah's books. Like when you look at the Valkyries, like it seems to be an important part of characters' journeys, is like finding the female friendships. And I hate that Feyre doesn't really have that. I mean, she has more, but like, what do we even know about
her
more?
sisters with her relationship with her sisters are like kind of toxic. So like, it's not what like she can turn to her sisters.
But at least Anne Bryce, she had the best friend, but then
that one was not a great relationship either.
And you know, she uses that a lot. Now that I think about it, with Danica, it was kind of the same, of like this friendship with
it's kind of one-sided.
Right.
Interesting. Well, we have a lot more characters we will meet. So we can hypothesize on this for now, but it will evolve. We'll have more to say soon. So after this, at least there's fun at the party.
The party where there's no music. Like, there's no sound, but people are dancing. They seem to be having a blast, but...
You know, it's funny because I'm like...
It reminds me of those silent discos.
Yeah, except for nobody has headphones in and people are sitting around drinking. I'm like, people are definitely like burping and farting. You know, like...
Farting?
Why
would your mind go to that?
Because people are getting wild. They're out there drinking and having a blast. And I'm like, are y'all just dancing around? There's...
Were you on Broadway farting and we didn't know it?
Look, you know what? Sometimes you drink a lot and things happen. But the whole point is that I'm just like, if there's no music, there's no background noise, there's people's feet shuffling, you know they're
The
burping, if not
silence would
farting.
be deafening. Like even just scooting your chair would be like, ee! Like
If
you would
people
hear it.
go like make out in the corner, am I hearing you kiss? Is everything echoing? Like,
Oh man.
I'm just sitting here in judgment. She's trying to make it sound pretty, and I'm like, weird.
No,
It's
it would
weird.
be so uncomfortable.
Ugh. The master, however, seems to be having a blast. It's like someone's drunk grandfather at a wedding, just out there, no rhythm, like doing his thing.
No music, which again is so different from Arabin. Like keep that in mind when we see Arabin at a party later. You don't even know what I'm talking about because we see some other characters at the party too.
So I'll remember. I'm listening.
You'll remember. I'm so excited for you to read that. I'm so.
Are you
actually-
excited? I'm kind of
I'm
afraid
sad.
for where this is going. Yeah. I know where the rest of the story ends. Her thoughts drift back to, who else but Sam.
Always.
When the 2 days after she'd woken up after getting her ass beat, she'd used up a chunk of her savings to purchase her own apartment far away from the keep. And every day that she's gone, she's more resolved to tell Arabin that she's moving out.
I'm moving out. And what you're saying about her thoughts always going back to Sam. They do that throughout the series. There
Yeah.
are several moments in Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight and beyond where she thinks like everything relates back to Sam. That doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It's just really sad. But also the apartment that she's talking about, if you'll remember in Crown of Midnight, that's the one that she left Kale in her will when he was trifling through her shit. And he found the will and she's like, I'm not going to change it.
And this apartment's going to become significant.
Mhm.
She wouldn't be free of Arabin. She'll still owe him money, but there's no rule that she has to live with him. And she's a big girl now.
All of 17. And something has changed. It started changing in Skulls Bay, maybe even when Ben died. Lost in thought, Elias asked, or I guess mimes or whatever, for Selena to dance. He's miming. It's completely silent. I just want to set the mood. Completely silent. He is miming at her dancing. So he's probably like doing the Macarena to no music. And she does it. She decides to go dance, and they dance until after midnight. Even when they switch partners, Elias is always waiting for the next dance. He sounds very cute and sweet.
Oh, and he is so interested. Meanwhile, there's no backup noise, and I would totally be huffing and puffing. Like, whether it's I burped or not, I would be huffing and puffing around this dance floor, and I'd be like,
Well, she talks
Like-
about them dancing. It's very carefree, which sounds good until someone expects you to do it.
yeah.
Like
well,
I can't jump in. Like it reminds me of the way people dance around fires in like movies and TV shows. I could not participate. I need a very defined, like, am I backing up into you? Am I just backing it up?
I don't have like an internal rhythm or something. Like, I need to have something I'm dancing to.
How
If
do I
not,
know
I'm
when
like,
to,
what are
like,
we just
throw?
like? Are we just like flowing with the wind? Like, what are we doing for these dance moves?
You look like in car dealerships,
yeah, those big. I don't know what those things are.
the like blow up.
It made me
things.
think of It's Always Sunny, where Dee's out there like dancing
Yes.
with. I don't remember what those things are
That
called.
reminds us of our friend Mort. That's how she dances.
Love that.
She would honestly thrive on this dance floor.
She would be killing it. They'd be moving after her. They'd be following her moves. So they have some fun dancing, and then Ilias walks Selena to her room.
Selena, Otterlin's assassin. She's freed slaves. She's killed people, but she has never been kissed. But when Elias goes in for a kiss, she steps back. And to his credit, he immediately stops, which for me to even have to say to his credit, the bar is in hell. He should obviously stop, but he is very sweet and respectful.
He's very respectful about it, yes. But I'm me over here. I'm like, oh my God, kiss him. You
Oh,
cannot.
but it's too quiet.
You can't lose a chance. He's hot. Like when somebody's hot
Oh, I
nearby.
would have slept with him night one.
Yeah. I mean, like, even if I was a virgin, maybe we weren't having sex, but I would be like, we're gonna do things.
We're doing things.
This is my chance. But that's who I was at 16. I was looking for all the boys for all the attention and the kisses.
We
aren't
in
the
my
same.
mind I was that way, but I was actually a virgin until almost the end of college. So I like to picture myself like that, but actually I was like, I still have my purity ring. What will I do with it?
I just wanted kisses. I wasn't sleeping with everybody.
When people see the white, like when they talk about his signet ring missing, there's like the white line. That's
Yeah.
my purity ring missing.
Yikes.
But I had to keep wearing it after because then it would be too obvious.
Yeah,
My
you
grandmother
can't
would
just-
have noticed. So I was like living a lie like the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, this
when
is
they-
reminds me of the Jonas Brothers. That they took off
I
those rings
still
and
have
everybody
it.
knew.
I need to find it.
Okay, well, that took a turn.
Sorry.
Ilias was very respectful, and the reason that Selena stopped actually had nothing to do with Ilias.
And it has everything to do with Sam. Like
Again.
everything.
There he is again. The next morning, Selena is teasing Ansel about not coming back to their room last night, but she doesn't care. Mikhail is an amazing warrior who gives her extra attention when they train.
Red flag, because is that why you're hooking up with him? Why
That
you been
was a
hooking up
weird
with-
conversation. Several things, like one about how they're like patting him on the back and ribbing her, really
Yes.
pissed me off and
Right.
grossed me out. But then also, it did sound very much like she was using him for the extra training.
But then you can't look at him be sympathetic because he started dating a 15-year-old when he was in his mid-20s, Mikhail.
Well, it also, she does talk about the way he looks at Ansel, like seems like he really, really cares about her, but also, I don't know.
Yeah, he groomed her.
There's some weird vibes in there, maybe. There's
The
some
vibes
weird
are
vibes
off.
in there. But also it sounds like someone is salty about the master not training them.
And she is being a bitch about it. She's very bipolar. Sometimes she doesn't really care and she's cheery, and then other times she's a total bitch. And this is one of those times. She implies that the master changed his mind because she's the great Selena Sardothian, and he just wants to have a hand in shaping her glorious fate.
Wow. Ansel is butthurt.
Someone's jelly jubilee.
But she also clearly doesn't know the master. And she, after all these years, she
doesn't get it. She has lost the
she's
plot.
not getting what this place is really about.
Mhm. And that's why she'll never learn how to slither like a snake.
I mean, Selena figured it out within like a day or two. She's paying very close attention.
And she keeps pushing Selena until she snaps. And Selena's like, guess what, bitch? Even if you go home and get what you want, no one's going to give a shit about the Western Waste. Stop trying to make the Western Waste happen.
Nobody knows or cares who
No
they
one cares
are.
about Briar or whatever. Nobody cares.
I was also very sassy at 16 and would immediately regret having said this like Selena.
You are still sassy.
Thank you. I try to rein it in a bit.
But she at least recognizes, as soon as it comes out, she's at least like, oh, shouldn't have said that.
Too far.
And so Ansel hits her with a spoiled, selfish bitch and leaves her to finish the chores. And she's not wrong. Selena can be a little bratty, but you're also butthurt about the master training her. The master seeing something in her that he hasn't seen in you for 5 full years.
I mean, Ansel, you did start this. Like, it's not okay that you pushed Selena until she said something below the belt that she didn't mean, but you started this. So you can't, I mean, like,
right.
I mean, you can have a response, but like, this is not, you started this. Selena's distracted at her next lesson, and when the master is like, shrug.
Because of course he doesn't ask.
He can't be like, what's wrong? She doesn't tell him about the stupid fight with Ansel. Instead, she admits that she's scared to go home.
And Selena admitting that she's scared, letting the master, letting anyone see behind the bravado is very rare.
Everything changed when Arabin punished her, but a part of her thinks that when she returns, everything will go back to how it was before she went to Skulls Bay. But she doesn't want it to go back to how it was before, and that scares her most of all.
And that is something very deep and personal for Selena to share. And the master's like, I'm a snake.
But
just starts slithering around the
I
room.
know, but then she like joins them, and I'm like, what are the two of you fucks doing?
And there's not that you would need to play music for this, but there's no sound.
Like, it's just how weird is it? What are you doing up there? She joins him and they slither around the roof.
He is so unserious.
But you know what? Somehow these weird movements feel right to Selena. Like everything she's been observing and mimicking is clicking into place.
At least he doesn't make her pretend to be what we thought an asp was, a wasp.
I guess this is like Tai Chi. Like I'm like, what are you doing with your body? But like even then I'm like, what are you doing? I can't visualize this.
When I picture it, it is so cartoonish.
I'm still hearing that vine. I'm a snake.
I'm a snake.
The next day, Ansel apologizes to Selena.
And Selena apologizes too, and Ansel admits that she's the first true friend that she's had here, which may be a bit of a red flag. You've been here for 5 years.
That felt very out of character for Ansel to come in and apologize, though, because everything she's done has seemed kind of not necessarily arrogant, but just like, I don't know, like remorseless.
Well,
or like
Selena and Ansel are a lot alike in that they have a lot of bravado and they don't let people see what's going on the inside a lot.
Yeah, but they have been honest with each other too. So I guess
she's just a little crazier.
That is so true.
With red hair.
But, you know, it's weird that the whole time Ansel's talking to Selena, she's looking at the door nervously and being really fucking weird. Then Ansel says, "Try to remember me fondly," before she hands Selena poisoned wine.
And honestly, it's no wonder that Selena failed the poisons test or almost failed the poisons test because she seems to get poisoned a lot.
Then she wakes in the dunes.
Dune music.
Ooh.
Wait, that was a little more Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, please keep going. I was just waiting to hear where this goes.
Hopefully, I've learned how to put music into this episode, and it is playing right now.
But at least Cassid is in the dunes with her.
Who?
And Casita, the horse.
I actually don't know if that's right.
I know, but it's okay. Just keep calling me out. It'll happen again. And all of Selena's shit except her sword. Rude.
She finds a note in Ansel's Comic Sans looking handwriting. I don't know why Sarah used that. When we read the Kindle on the Kindle, I don't know why I said we read the Kindle. I have purse. The handwriting is always really silly looking. Like, remember the note that the rebels left? And
Yes.
it was all caps. We were like, a boomer. This looks like Comic Sans. But it says that the master said it would be easier to let you go like this rather than shame you by publicly asking you to leave early. Casita is yours, as is the master's letter of approval in your saddlebag.
I mean, it's wild that she just goes with this because none of this is on brand with the master that she actually fucking knows.
She's just so hurt by
Much
it.
better than Ansel at this point. I mean, like, I mean, she's hurt by it, but like she's running over in her head like, I've done nothing. So like,
What? Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I probably would have been more like, what?
Mhm.
That's weird. And why would he choose you to like pass me off instead of like
Yeah,
Ilias
he doesn't
or something?
even like you.
But it's Selena has 5 days left, and they just slithered all over the roof together.
We
you
just
know?
slithered.
We were vibing. The shit is not adding up.
Selena's devastated. This is the first place that she's felt like she belonged in a very long time. The master discarding her is worse than any beating Arabin could give her.
Lips trembling, she looks up to find the stag and starts the journey to Xandria instead of going back across the singing sands to Yerpa. Yerpa. I don't know.
And it's that little itinerary change that is the reason that she sees 200. So we're used to it being like 20. 200 of Lord Barrick's men are marching toward the assassin's fortress. But 200 soldiers is nothing against the silent assassins, right? So she doesn't immediately turn back to warn them because she thinks they can handle it.
Well, she's also only seen like one attack, so she doesn't know what they regularly do. So I guess that it was a bit of a red flag, but it's also like they're probably fine. Again, it is a house full of
And
assassins.
they just kicked me out, like, fuck them.
And they've got different like things set up to protect their borders, so like it's probably okay. Once she's in Xandria, Selena buys a ticket on a ship to Amir, a port in Melisande. She'd hoped for a ship to Inish to see if Irene left, but there weren't any. And with the embargo, Amir is her best option. From there, she'll travel on Casita to Rifthold.
That was a very difficult sentence.
I had to think about it.
The ship doesn't leave until that afternoon, so Selena wanders around and starts getting suspicious. The more she thinks about it, the more shit is not adding up.
Things are a little too quiet where she is. Like, nothing feels quite right. She gets suspicious enough that she opens the letter, which is blank.
Which, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on what Ansel did and her motivations, but even if she did think she was saving Selena's life by kicking her out, she knows there would be hell to pay if Selena showed back up in Rifthold without that letter.
But she'd be alive.
And it did have his seal, but no one knows better than Selena that it is easy to steal a signet ring. She did it herself with Captain Rolfe. And there had been that white line on the master's fingers, which just shows you how long this has been in the works.
I know. In my mind, I'm like, oh, his wedding band. No, his signet ring.
Why would we even?
Duh. She doesn't have time to think through the whys and hows. Selena jumps on Casita and starts racing back to the fortress.
She's like, let's see how fast you can run, a.k.a.
Run, Shadowfax. Show us the meaning of haste.
That is not how he says it.
How does he say it?
Run, Shadowfax. Show us the meaning of haste.
Oh, okay.
Was that good?
You were very authoritative.
Thank you. Gandalf. Selena and Casita race to the fortress where the assassins haven't yielded yet, but their walls have been breached, even though their gates show no sign of a forced entry, almost like someone left it unlocked.
Yikes.
This is a lot of people that she got killed.
Yeah. It's like, whether some of this may have been necessary for her, I'm like, how this would eat me alive.
Those
I'd
are
feel
people
so
for
guilty.
5 years that you were living with
People that
and
looked
that
up
were
to her.
decent.
And it's
Uh-huh.
probably all the acolytes. You know, those bitches aren't ready to fight.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about the acolytes.
The kids. How dare you?
Not the kids.
Inside, there are bodies everywhere. The water is now flowing red with blood. Selena has a lot of questions, but the biggest one is, where is the master? That's who Lord Beric wants. So she runs to his room and on the way passes Mikhail with his throat slit.
R.I.P. child predator. We didn't like you.
I mean, yes, it was weird that he was in his 20s. Overall, I didn't get like a bad vibe from Mikhail. Like
It's
he seemed to genuinely like Ansel, and I think Ansel was just using him. So like that's I mean, yes, he was older, which is
it's
gross, but it's
complicated.
also like kind of just sad.
It's fucking gross.
Beside Mikhail is Ilias. Ilias is bleeding, but urges Selena to go help his father first.
He needs Magus because thank God he's not having a C-section. She might be able to help. The master is laying on his side, paralyzed. Even worse, he has to listen to Ansel's insane monologue because girl is going off.
But you know what? It's like in every like movie and book, like the bad guy, wait, like just kill somebody.
Just kill
If you want to
somebody.
kill somebody, just kill them.
But she's had 5 years of building resentment and anger, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna listen to me now, you mute bitch."
I know, and like every time they do, I mean, like naturally, thank goodness they do this because then the good guys can come in and save people. But they always do this in movies, and you're like, if you would just hurry up and fucking do it.
Oh, they do. I mean, all of Sarah's series, every series.
Everybody
does
has
that.
to have their moment.
But yeah.
As Ansel aims her sword for the master's throat, Selena throws a dagger into her forearm.
And we know how good Selena's aim is, but this is her first friend. And it's not like her jobs as an assassin where she's given a name and doesn't know her target. This is someone she knows. Plus, Ansel can't die because of the plot, but mostly it's because she doesn't want to do this.
We see Selena. There's a lot of opportunities in this book where she could kill, but instead she like just maims or like knocks somebody
Right.
unconscious.
Because she did that with Captain Rolfe.
She did that with all the pirates on the ships. Like there's different opportunities where she could do so much worse, and she's not being super bloodthirsty about it.
It makes you wonder. I mean, we know what changed because once we get to Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, she doesn't let Archer go.
Yeah, but Archer's passed his opportunities. If she was going to, and he really just showed that he's too far gone. God, what a dick. Anyway, Ansel explains Lord Beric promised her 1,000 men to march into the flatlands if she first stole the horses to give him a reason to attack the fortress, then killed the guards, left the gate open, and finally brought him the master's head.
That is quite the to-do list to do on your own.
Seriously.
Selena doesn't want to do this, but she can't let Ansel kill the master. If anyone understands rage and hate, it's Selena, but this isn't the way because she can look at Ansel and see like potentially what she could have become if she lets the anger and resentment build up in her. Selena is assassin though because she has no other choice. She didn't have a choice when she was 8 years old, but Ansel has choices. You're a full-grown adult woman. You could be like an influencer for armor or be like Burning Man content. I mean, you have options.
Ansel has had 5 years living with these people to plan her betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so many things you could have grown and evolved as a person, and you didn't.
Yeah, even if you started because you thought you were going to like long term need men to go back, seems like over those 5 years you would have grown as a person,
evolved,
and
like
changed.
found another way, like any of those things. What Selena's really saying is, don't kill him so I don't have to kill you.
Ansel pitches Selena on joining her in conquering the flatlands, and Selena's like that kombucha meme where she's like, no. Like she thinks about it for a second, she's like, no. Ansel asks, what's so special about Rifthold? But it is not what's so special, it's who. And that open line of credit. It's the who and the open line of credit. But also that's something that we'll see in the next 2 stories. Sam is always asking Slay, and he's like, what is it about Rifthold that's keeping you here?
But I mean, even then, like once Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, like she's staying in Rifthold. Like this is literally the home of her enemy. She's in his home.
Yeah.
And still wanting to stay there. Like, what is it about Rifthold?
She doesn't even have that open line of credit anymore.
Gosh. Ansel sends a hidden dagger towards Selena's face, grazing her cheek.
A sword fight breaks out, which
my face.
Not the moneymaker. And Arabin's gonna be so upset. Ansel is good at sword fighting, but she's also covered in armor, so it's really hard to get a hit in. There's also Ilias, who definitely needs a healer, but the master's fingers are starting to twitch. So Selena tries to keep Ansel talking and distracted, which isn't hard when she's insane.
Yeah, she's very fired up. Selena uses her Animal Farm training to knock Ansel off balance, then slither on top of her. I'm sure Ansel hated that. Slither on
She's
top
like,
of
this
her.
is what you've been learning. That's
She's
why I
like,
can't fight you.
what? So that she can pin her down with her own father's sword.
And Ansel switches to that baby voice, please don't hurt me. And Selena is thinking, did I ever know this girl? And Ansel says that there were moments it was real, like when she sent Selena away. And I do have questions about do we think that she sent Selena away to protect her or to get her out of the way of the plan, or maybe a little bit of both?
You guys literally had 1 month together.
Yeah.
Okay. And you weren't even like doing grueling training for most of
But
it.
we also think Ansel might have had a little crush on Selena.
Definitely plausible. But like, you know, a lot of the characters and friendships that SJM writes, like they go through really intense, painful, brutal times
Bonding.
together to bond. Like that is not what you guys had. You guys shucked manure together and like hung
Right.
out, which is great. It is truly bonding for you two, but it's like
They have trauma and they have bonding, but they don't have their own trauma
I
bond.
think I don't fully understand the level of like betrayal that Selena seems to feel. Like it's not okay, but like you also don't know this girl. You
I'm
barely
trying
know
to
her.
put myself like when I was a teenager and I would go to camps. If one of my camp friends betrayed me, I wouldn't be like,
Yeah.
Judas.
But I guess we also had female friends at home. So like this is
Mhm.
much different for these two characters.
She
It's
does jump in she fully jumps in for female friendships. Probably because
yeah.
she's just so starved for them, because we see that with
Well, and I
Nehemia.
do think the friendship itself and the bonding was real, but like Ansel's been we don't know how long Ansel's been planning this, but she's been there for 5 years and didn't grow or learn anything different. So like meeting Selena might have been important to her, but it wasn't going to sway her.
Right.
I don't think she would have wanted to hurt Selena, but I also think that she got her out of there so that Selena wouldn't get in her way,
Yeah.
which is sad. It's not just
Mhm.
to protect Selena, it's more like I need you gone.
Mhm.
They hear the assassins celebrating their victory outside, and instead of killing her, Selena tells Ansel she has 5 minutes to grab her stupid fucking armor and run because in 20 minutes, she's going to find an arrow in her ass.
And here's your sword, go home, bitch. So she's kicking her out, but she's also giving her time to grab the things she knows it's important. Like it's important to have her father's sword, and
Yeah.
she gives it back to her.
She's giving her time to get out of there, but then she's coming for her, so she's giving her a head start.
And Ansel just leaps over Mikhail's body for the drama. She does not give a shit. Mikhail's corpse, and she just jumps over it and takes off. And it's honestly hard to hate Ansel because of like things like that. She's just so insane and unbothered. It's kind of funny. And Selena helps the master and Elias, who will be fine. But the master looks at her and is like, aren't you supposed to be firing an arrow into someone's ass right now, bestie?
You right. You're right.
You're right.
Selena's like, Bestie, shouldn't you have smelled the Gloriella?
I know. I have questions about the master. She goes up to the battlement and she sees Ansel hauling ass on her Asterian horse to the Singing Sands towards Briarcliff. Her arrow hits the sand right behind the horse's hooves, not because Ansel got out of there in 20 minutes, but because Selena gave her 21. They don't even have watches.
You know, and this is wild because we'll see this again where Selena gave an extra minute. Like,
Mhm.
or well, something comes up and Aelin gives somebody an extra minute that she didn't have to, and she could have cost herself so much.
Yeah.
But she did. She gave her an extra minute and
And
she
it is
made it out of
important. A
there.
lot of the people that she's meeting or, coming across, it's important like that Irene was where she was. It's important that Ansel is where she is and that the silent assassins, like it's all building up to something.
And I think it's important that she had time to bond with Ansel where she did, because she could see that, like, although her motives or like the way that her methods were wrong, Ansel is really coming from a place of wanting to take care of her people.
Mhm.
And Selena could relate to that. And
Yeah.
so she's not cutting it off forever. She's just, you got to get
It's
out of here,
goodbye
girl.
for now.
Yeah. Back in the fortress, all of Lord Barrick's soldiers are dead and in the process of being taken back to Xandria. And even though Ansel was responsible for the deaths of 20 assassins, the master tells Selena he's glad that Selena didn't kill her.
And I know the master is big into lessons, but he knew Ansel was lying about her past almost the entire time. It seems like he clocked who she was, but then he let her stay. And that's just the way I read it, that he even knew that he was drinking poisoned water. And that's 20 lives for your fucking lesson.
That is so weird too, though, because
When you really think about big picture of, yeah, like Ansel is important in Selena's journey, and then it's obviously very important what she helps
what
Selena
was the
do.
purpose here, though, for those poor people?
There's 20 people that are dead for you to teach a
But
lesson.
it also doesn't explain again, if he knew she's been lying the whole time, why he let her be the go-between with Lord Barrick.
Was that a test? Like, was he testing her? I don't know.
Maybe we're looking too deep at it. Maybe he really just
We're
missed it.
just too deep.
Who knows?
People are always saying that we're too deep.
Gosh, we get that all the time. The master says, if you can learn to endure pain, you can survive anything. Some people learn to embrace it, to love it. Some endure it through drowning it in sorrow or by making themselves forget. Others turn it into anger, but Ansel let her pain become hate and let it consume her until she became something else entirely, a person I don't think she ever wished to be.
And the master thinks that Selena is the closest to a friend that Ansel ever let herself have. And sparing Ansel will leave an imprint on her heart. Maybe she'll even kill less people or something. I don't know, but here's your letter for Arabin. He's just, maybe she'll kill less people.
Also,
again, we just let her go.
And 20 of your assassins died. You're not mad? Like, this is okay? Whatever. By the way, the Mute Master is actually saying all of this.
He's using his. Can you imagine him trying to mime that entire speech about pain?
He never really took a vow of silence. I think I would be in such shock that I'd be like, "What?
Excuse
what
me?
is this noise?"
It's really noisy. He says that if Selena ever wants to leave the North, she will always have a home with the Silent Assassins. Also, you'll have some company on your journey to Xandria tomorrow.
To carry 3 trunks of gold.
He also tells her that when she gives Arabin the letter, to let him know that in the Red Desert, they don't abuse disciples. I would actually not tell him that. It would just piss him off.
I feel like he would not give a fuck.
No.
Clearly.
Like, okay.
But thank you for seeing that for me. For the first time in a long while, Selena hears the song of a northern wind calling her home, and she is not afraid.
And that's the end of The Assassin in the Desert. And what are your thoughts as a first-time Assassin's Blade reader? Are you surprised with, I know you're putting together everyone we meet who they are, but are you surprised with how many people we meet in Assassin's Blade that come back up later on?
I am not, because I have read the whole series, and when people come back up, like it's referenced.
Okay.
Like where they met in the past. So
but there's a lot. Like, there are a lot of people that she comes
I am
across.
impressed to hear why they come back up later. Now I have a better understanding, because like in the future, Assassin's Blade is referenced. But so like I don't know what had happened. I just knew that she knew these people, or that she had trained with these people. So I enjoyed hearing the why in more detail about it. And but I did know these people were all going to come up again.
And this is the last of the side quest stories. We're getting back to Rifthold and her and Sam next week for The Assassin in the Underworld.
Thanks, y'all.
I hope you're emotionally prepared.
Oh, yes. I know things are about to get really serious, and I'm very anxious, but I'm ready to get into it. Bye, guys.